Brace yourselves and now travel back in time with me all the way back to August last week for a Time Travel Week encore. Hi, I'm Michael Evers, and this is Fit to be Read. Last week, I released 5 episodes all about time travel. If you missed any of those, they can all be found on my video page. It was also my birthday last week, and the best gifts I could ever hope for are these amazing works of art by my amazing children. We've got this from Paolo. I think that looks like me. And we got this from Sasha. And of course, a bookmark. The giving, however, did not stop there. I received a number of great recommendations and suggestions from many of you for time travel titles to add to my list. Here's 10 of those. Meet Me in Another Life by Catriona Silvey, published in 2021. This was recommended by Cinefex. It appears that this has elements of romance, mystery, maybe some fantasy, LGBTQ themes. I also like that this seems to be set in Cologne, a city that I like very much. Checking up on this one, I'm expecting, similar to a few books that I discussed on my Time Travel Week videos, the Groundhog Day vibes, that kind of thing, where characters relive days, or in this case, maybe even lives, and always end up finding each other. This could be a TBR list contender for me. What say you? Yay or nay? Next up to bat, pun intended, If I Never Get Back by Darrell Brock, published in 1989. This was suggested by J. Scott Phillips. When I was younger, I was really into playing and watching baseball. I loved baseball movies. I loved following stats, keeping up with all that kind of stuff. Not so much now, but I used to be really into that. That this novel has a strong history of baseball theme to it maybe intrigues me. I didn't get a real feel for this from one of the brief research things I did looking it up. If you've read this one, let me know what you think. Would I be far off if I'm expecting Field of Dreams type vibes? Also, with the summer of 1869 as a setting, it does fall well before the Negro Leagues started, but I am curious, given everything that was going on in 1869, if any race themes show up, as that would also make this a potential read and maybe a more interesting choice for me for my TBR. Bid Time Return by Richard Matheson, also suggested by J. Scott Phillips. Matheson might have an uphill battle with this one if he's trying to desperately get it onto my TBR. He's not. Oh well. Anyway, it looks like this is a heavier dive into romance more than anything, which I'm not poo-pooing, but I'd be curious before reading if that dominates the story. This did win the World Fantasy Awards, so clearly it has stood up to critical review. The gist of this story is that a terminally ill, lonely man falls in love with a woman that he's never met before, based solely off of seeing a nearly century-old photograph. He becomes obsessed and eventually either wills himself to travel in time to meet her. You might not expect this from me, but as a hokey, sweet, somewhat ridiculous kind of sounding thing, I can still get on board with seeing how this just might work. Arcadia by Ian Pears, published in 2015. This was suggested by Alistair. As superficial as it seems, I typed it into the search bar and I saw this cover and I immediately thought, this looks to be my speed. I don't know, it's just the right look. If you watched my Time Travel Week videos, you know that I'll go in for time travel that addresses paradox heavily, as well as those that sidestep it, but I definitely prefer the former. In Arcadia, Pears tackles it head on, and the implications from what I've read are gigantic. Also working in its favor for me to perhaps pick it up is that there are a lot of references to spy fiction and dystopian future. Those are all good things to me. Delivering hesitations are some allusions to this maybe being more of a young adult and more of a sci-fi fantasy blend. That's not a knock. I will read both of those things. They just don't usually get me to jump out of my seat. I'd love to hear more about this from anyone who's read it, so let me know what you think. So You Had to Build a Time Machine by Jason Offutt, published in 2020. This was suggested by Chris Connors. This looks like a lighthearted time travel comedy almost. What stood out the most is that the character point of view could be from one character, but not necessarily from the same timeline. Apparently an experiment has gone wrong. It's got folks time traveling to different times, and humorously, each character can't be sure which version of which acquaintance they're talking to at any given time. That non-linear, humorous confusion sounds fun. I'm cautious though when I go into a science fiction book that I hear is fun, cute, kind of funny. Those usually miss the mark more often than hit it, but I think that I could go into this with an open mind. But then again, I look at this cover and I start getting really judgy again. Life After Life by Kate Atkinson, published in 2013. This was suggested by Bookspin. This is yet another Groundhog's Day type story where the main character dies and is reborn. Points in the book's favor are the plot to assassinate Hitler, which I believe happens in the first chapter, and it's not really a secret. When talking about time travel, it doesn't really get more cliche than considering the ethics and implications of killing Hitler or even baby Hitler. While that may be the case, it's not an actual storyline that you see a lot of in science fiction books or science fiction time travel books or science fiction at all, really. It's unclear to me whether there is other time travel in this novel or if the time traveliness of the book is just the soul or consciousness leaping from body to body to repeat attempts to kill Hitler. This is another one that I'd like to hear more about from those who've read it, so let me know. Singularity Sky by Charles Stross, published in 2003. This is another suggestion from Star R. Of all the time travel novels that were suggested to me, this is the one that most sings to my heart. This is time travel, sentient AI, space opera, and political intrigue. I love all of those things in my science fiction. It seems that the all-powerful AI in the book fosters great technological development, while at the same time threatens humanity that it dare not try to time travel. Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Charles Sheffield, published in 1997. This was a suggestion by Star R. I'm expecting a bit of science in this one, as cryogenics are enlisted for traversing long stretches of time. I'm immediately hesitant because the protagonist's motivation for cryosleeping is to reach a future where he can find a cure for his wife's terminal illness. What is it about that? I don't know. Maybe it's too much of a low-hanging fruit kind of thing. What does sound interesting is the irony that in his journey to the future, he may be a solution or a hero for conflict that those in the far future are facing. Interesting. Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, published in 2022. This is a suggestion from Chris Connors. The blurb on this one really catches my attention. I'm going to paraphrase. You can't believe it when you see your 17-year-old son kill a stranger right there on the street outside your house. You don't know who, you don't know why. You only know that your son is now in custody, his future shattered. That night you fall asleep in despair. All is lost until you wake and it's yesterday. And then you wake again and it's the day before yesterday. Every morning you wake up a day earlier, another day before the murder, with another chance to stop it. Somewhere in the past lies an answer. This sounds to me like a real page-turning thriller. Great Work of Time by John Crowley, published in 1989. This was suggested to me by my friend Bill, who is a member of the Science Fiction Book Club on Facebook. Interesting in Great Work of Time is that Africa is featured heavily in the story, as Denny's Winterset from a 1956 British Empire timeline is posted to British-dominated Africa, where he learns of a secret society that apparently tinkers in temporal manipulation to the benefit, of course, of the British Empire. In another timeline, 1986, Casper Last, a genius, creates a time machine. This is a short novella that appears to blend science fiction and fantasy, and I could see myself giving this one a shot. Thank you for all of these great suggestions. Thank you for watching today. I'm Michael Leverts, and this is Fit to be Read.